Yami, you guys please come light the candle. יזכור.
יזכור עם ישראל את בניו ובנותיו הנאמנים והאמיצים, חיילי צבא הגנה ישראל וכל לוחמי המחתרות וחטיבות הלוחמים במערכות העם, ואנשי קהילות המודיעין, הביטחון, המשטרה ושירות בתי הסוהר, אשר חירפו נפשם במלחמה על תקומת ישראל, וכל אלה שנרצחו בארץ ומחוצה לה בידי מרצחים מארגוני הטרור. יזכור ישראל ויתברך בזרעו, ויאבל על זיו העלומים וחמדת הגבורה, וקדושת הרצון ומסירות הנפש של הנספים במערכות הכבדות. יהיו חללי המערכות ישראל ופעולות האיבה, עטורי הניצחון, חתומים בלב ישראל לדור דור, אמן.
Thank you all for coming tonight to Yom Hazikaron. We're really very honored and touched to have Naomi and Yami Weiser here with us. The truth is, October 7th, for me, and I really think for many people in this room and certainly in this town, the moment that it actually really hit home in a very unique way was when we heard that Roey was killed right at the beginning. And it was something that was so deeply personal because of the fact that it was so close, and so close to our hearts, so close to our homes, who he was, what his story is. It was personal for me. My kids were friends with him. My son is also in Golani, just a year younger, and just made a very deep, personal, for me, impression. I know you, I like you. It was something very, very deeply personal. The truth is, I'm actually a little bit of a runner, and the route that I take is right past your house. I'm usually pretty tired by that time as I'm coming back. But I know that I'll always look up and see that picture of Roey there, and I always stop, and I salute, and I run backwards down the hill, like I would almost not to turn my back on a Sefer Torah. And who he I know that he was someone that jumped over a fence to run away from school in kindergarten. That's my kind of guy. I know someone that jumped out of a window to be first to recess. That's my kind of guy. And I know that he was a commander and loved by his soldiers, and just an all-around great guy. Even today, we were at the cemetery, a group of us, with Rav Shlomo, learning today at Kfar Tzion. And there was a boy that came, a couple of earrings, nose ring and other things, and he went straight to Roey's grave. And he sat there. So I went over to say, like, who are you? What's your connection? And he goes, oh, he was so dear to me. We were in Atzmona together. We were in Atzmona together. And he said, a friend like this, they don't make him like that. Someone who's always so positive and always so joyous and always so lovable and always so reliable and always has people's back, that's one of a kind. And that's something that really has somehow been able to come through to all of us. And so when I went running a Friday in Yerushalayim with 40,000 other people, that's because of Roey. The joy that we have around, that is because of Roey and all of his friends and all of those other Chayalim. It's so hard to take everyone and be able to make it personal with Roey. It's something that it's with us, it's an indelible impression. My kids know it, our kids know it, it's something that we feel. And the way that you've been able to hold yourselves up so that we all could really try to connect with you and empathize with you, and to be able to understand the kind of sacrifice that's made so that all of us are able to, it's not given to us on a silver lining, a silver platter. It is not at all. And these are deep, deep sacrifices that were made. He made the ultimate. It's not lost on us at all. We're very touched to be able to have you here and to be able to connect with him through you both. So thank you for coming.
You can start.
So, we're Naomi and Yami Weiser. We're parents of Staff Sergeant Roey Chaim Weiser that was killed on September 7th. October 7th. October 7th, 2023. Simchat Torah, Tafshin Pei Daled. And thank you for giving us the space to share a few words with you.
So we're going to tell you a little bit about us and our family and Roey and how he grew up. And he mentioned a few stories. We have like a million of those. What kind of kid he was, what made him to be what kind of soldier he was. Then we'll talk about the war and what happened that day. We'll talk about the projects that we did in his honor, and we'll leave space for any questions that you have. And we have just a little slideshow just so you can put a face to the name of various stages of Roey's life. So we were both born in America. I'm from New York. Yami's from Silver Spring, Maryland. And both our families separately made Aliyah when we were around 10 years old. And we met, 20 years later. We have 3 children. Shani is our oldest, she's 27, and I didn't say this, but she's single. Roey was our middle child, and Nadav is 19. And
Roey is our middle child.
Roey is our middle child, yes. And Nadav is 19, and he's learning in Atzmona now, and getting ready to go to the army. Roey was a very energetic child, to say the least. Always moving, like those kids that you sit on that you go to the park and they just sit on their parents' lap. Roey was the kind of kid who would run to the end of the park and check if he can go over the hill and over the mountain and jump from the top of the slide and see how he can hide from his mother. I was very skinny then. He kept me on my toes all the time. He talked about kindergarten, where he led the mutiny out of. He decided he wanted to play soccer, and he decided this is when he wanted the recess. So, no problem, we're going to go play soccer. And they climbed out the window and went to the park to go play soccer. That was normal to him, and that drive kept going, and he was like a natural leader. Kids just followed him. He learned in Asechayel school here in Efrat, and he was a good student, but he always had that edge, we'll call it, where he liked to have fun. He liked to lead people into things. He was very into sports at a young age, and just like he did in school, in kindergarten, also at school, he wanted to be first on the field to play soccer. And again, no problem. We'll climb out the window. We'll jump down. Doesn't matter if it's 2 flights up, and we'll go play soccer because we're going to be first on the field so that we can play our game. Once he decided something, he did it. He was very determined, I think would be the word.
He was also very competitive. Okay, he had to win. He had this drive always to win. He also had this thing that he would go into all these contests and he would win. He convinced somebody to give him a code So he went on one of those shopping sprees. You ever see the shopping sprees they run through with the cart? So he did that in Toys R Us. Ran through. He must have been 11 years old, all right, and he's running through 3,000 shekels in Toys R Us, and he's one of those kids. And every time in school, when they had like the teacher would say, "Okay, I'm raffling something off" or something like that. All the kids would sit down and say, "This is Roey's. We just know, that's it." And he would win every time, and it was like crazy. That's the kind of kid he was competitive, and he always strived to be the best that he could.
We talked about how much he loved sports. So he played soccer for I think about 6 years in Efrat, and they won quite a few championships. Then he proved to himself he can be really good at soccer, and then he moved on to the next sport, and he played football again in the National League, and he was very good at it too. He also liked to run. One of our favorite stories is, when he was about 10, I think, he decided he wanted to run the Jerusalem Marathon 10K. And you're not allowed to sign up when you're that age to run the 10K. He goes, "No problem. I'm going to take my sister. She's a little bit older than me. I'll sign up under her name." He came in third place in the girls' division.
And he went to get the trophy, too.
Yeah, didn't go very well, but he was very proud of that accomplishment. We'll talk a little bit later about, we continue that legacy of the marathons in his honor. In high school, he went to Derech Avot, also in Efrat. And again, he was the kind of student where he would sit in class and the teacher would be sure that he's sleeping, and he just sucked it all in. When you have to choose what megama, what you do, what your major in high school is, usually you choose one, you choose two. Nope, that wasn't enough for him. He chose three. He was very vigilant about what he chose. He was very into justice and fighting for things. So he chose law. It was his natural path. He talked about it a lot. He thought about in the army going into intelligence, so he learned Arabic. And just because he decided he was going to learn civics, right? Ezrachut, right? It's the most boring subject in my eyes, but it interested him, so he said, "Why not? I'm going to learn that too." And it didn't stop him from excelling at all these things. He was also the kind of kid that would wake up in the morning and go, "Oh my gosh, I have a test." And he's okay, he's looking at the book on the way to school, and then he'd come home and apologize, "I only got a 95. His sister would spend hours studying and not get anywhere near that, and she was just always so annoyed at him. It was this natural talent that it didn't come from either one of us. We were not good students. And, he had that thing where either the teachers loved him or the teachers hated him. He also had one of the things when we talk about, I want to bless all parents, that their children should have a group of friends like Roey's friends. When we moved we used to live in Beit Shemesh, and we moved here when Roey was 3. And he basically grew up with the same set of kids from that age on till they graduated high school. And they're still a very close group of friends, and they're just always amazing. When he would come home from the army, 5 minutes after he'd walk in the door, they'd be knocking on the door, and he'd be half asleep on the couch. I'm how'd you know he's home already? It's "Oh, we track each other's phones." They would get together Friday night and come home at 3 in the morning. I'm how much do you guys have to talk about? And this is after they spent all Friday afternoon eating hummus or going to the Mayan and going on whatever they did. They just couldn't get enough of each other. So they're still, till this day, they're great to us, I might say, and they're really great guys. Roey was also ambitious. His whole goal in life was to be better than us, I would say.
He always told us, "Ani shadrig otchem." I'm going to upgrade you. Yeah.
And that was fine. To me, that's a parent's success if their kids do better than that. But he was just very proud of it. He had a desire to earn money. He wanted, to start saving for things. When he was, how old was he?
He was in the 9th grade. He turns around to me in shul and says, "Abba, I decided I wanted to sell Arbat Aminim." I'm okay. He says, "I just don't know how to do it." I said, "It's simple." I said to the guy next to me, "How many sets do you need?" And the guy says 4. And the guy next to me says 3. I said, here, I already sold you 7 sets. So he's like, it's that easy? I said, yeah. So he went through Shul that Shabbos, making everybody insane. How many sets do you need? But he turned into a business. He mamash, till he went to the army. He did it for, I think, 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, he built up a nice business. Every year he did it. He was very serious about it. He was service oriented, as in when you say Arbat Aminim, I don't know all of you know, but sometimes you don't get the Aravot, you don't get the case, you don't get this. He always told everybody, I give full service, and he built himself a clientele over the years that were very loyal to him.
Right. He also wasn't afraid of hard work. He washed the building, and then he took on
Washed
2
the
more
rebuilding,
buildings,
yeah.
right? He kept doing it. He used to work at Ir David. He would sift dirt and carry piles of dirt. Like he didn't care what type of job he did. He was just happy to work and knew he was making money. And he always talked to me about how I need to learn to invest in the stock market so that I can teach him. I think it worked the opposite, but he was very into learning from things that we didn't do and learning how to be better at it. After he graduated from high school, he decided to go to Atzmona, the pre-army program, and Atzmona was really good for him. First of all, when you live in Efrat is sort of the same type of crowd of people. You know, he went to a religious school. He only met certain types of people. And you get to Atzmona and you meet people from all over the country. And this was a new thing to him. So he really adapted very quickly. He made a lot of friends. He learned, it gave him a lot of physical strength also. Like he learned to grow, to exercise. And it gave him, emotional strength and religious strength, right?
Mental too.
What?
Mental strength.
Mental strength, that's the word I'm looking for. So it was a really great year for him and all the great friends he made. And then when he was done, he had to decide what he was doing for the army now. Because he learned law, he was given the option to go do Atuda, which is the program in Israel where you get to combine going to school with the army, which means you're not kravi, you're not in combat unit. And he kept thinking about it. He also thought about intelligence. He thought about a lot of things. And he started the program for the law thing. And then he said, you know what? There's a million geeks in this world. But I have the strength. I can perfectly well be in combat. So why don't I do that? And that was his decision. And to tell you the truth, I was a little disappointed because I liked the idea of him sitting at a desk being a lawyer. But
I wasn't.
His father went to Golani, and his dream was, okay, I'm going to go to Golani, and I'm going to do everything my father did, and as I said, do it better. So that was his plan.
Roey went to the army in August of 2021. One of the first conversations I had with him when he got to the army was, because he says, Abba, there's no avira, there's no ruach, there's nothing. I'm in basic training, and my machlaka has maybe 4 other dati guys. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I said, Roey, give it time. Doesn't matter where people come from. In the end, these guys are going to be your family. And sure enough, within 2 months, he got along with everybody. He was excelling in the army. He did really well. I can jump ahead and say that he finished basic training as one of the mitztanim. He got his sergeant's kumta, which is a very big honor. He did everything. Like he totally upgraded me, that one. What can I say? I was. But one of the things right away that we noticed in Roey was, Naomi spoke about the whole justice thing, that he was always looking out for the other guys. He was always his best friend. A boy by the name of Yad Ben Yaakov, he also was killed on October 7th. Was his best friend. He was a Chiloni kid from Petach Tikva. Okay, came from a underprivileged family, and they were best friends. They were inseparable. And even when we met his mother at one of these get-togethers, and she's like, we never understood it. Okay. Here's this Dati kid, this American Dati kid, and my son is so far away, and they lived for each other. That's how good friends they were. So we're always looking out for the other, and he did it. I also did it in school. He did it in high school, but in the army it came out. It came out more forcefully. When he was in basic training, my mother called him up around Purim time and he said to him, Roey, I want to send you Mishlach Manot. And he said, Bubby, I don't need it, but if it's okay with you, can you send it to the lone soldiers and to the underprivileged soldiers that we have? We have quite a few of them here in our pluga. And my mother thought it was a great idea, and she says, just do me a favor, get me a list, and I'll make sure to have them send Mishlach Manot. Roey calls back 10 minutes later and says, Bubby, you can't do that. He says, why not? He says, because then everybody will know that they're underprivileged and nobody's taking care of them. So either give to everybody or you don't. So my mother went out and actually bought the whole pluga Mishlachei Manot that year. It took about 120 Mishlachei Manot. The next morning she went out and took a second mortgage.
Pause for a second. There's a lot of you people standing there. There's 4 empty chairs here if you guys want to
5.
come in, or feel free to stand there, but if you want, there's more room here, or come squish in. Sorry.
We have a lot more stories about. He used to go back on Sunday to the army. So if you have chayalim, you have soldiers, children soldiers. Half their bag is clothing, and the other half of the bag is food. And Roey would go back and he'd pack it in with so much food, and he'd call me up on Tuesday and say, Abba, I'm hungry. I'm like, Roey, you took half of my house with you, of food. And he'd say, no, I don't eat alone. Everybody, I eat with everybody. Everybody eats with me. That's the way it was. He would ask Naomi to buy him shoelaces. Always ask for more than one pair of shoelaces because somebody may need, and he had to share with everybody. When he became a sergeant, he wanted to buy a new watch, and I actually bought him a watch. I have it here with me. That's a story for later on. So I said to him, okay, Roey, what are you going to do? He says to me, Abba, what should I do? What should I do with the watch that I have now? And I said to him, just bring it home. We'll give it to your brother, whatever. He calls me back the next day and said, look, there was a guy here without a watch, so I gave it to him. I hope that's okay. Sure. After basic training, which he one of the more outstanding soldiers in the basic training, he was sent right away to the the commander's course, Kulsmaki. Right away, he stood out again. He was very unique in the style of the way he commanded soldiers. We have a video. Can you hear?
Yeah. That's him in the middle over there.
Okay, so that was the SpongeBob song. Okay, he did that as an after-action part. He did that to SpongeBob. That was Roey. He was very unique in his style. You can show that this is another one of him.
This is him in the
When he was a
office
sergeant,
chair.
Yeah, he's in an office chair. He decided that he needed to be pushed around that day by other soldiers. That's what he did.
He called it an exercise.
Yeah. Anyway, so Roey did very well also in the commander's course. He was he excelled there. And what he didn't realize is that the better you are in commander's course, it's an upside down thing, because you would think the army would want you to stay, go back to Golani and go to the officers course or do something. No, you stay as a commander in the commander's course, and he didn't want that. He tried to fight it. He kept saying, "I'm a soldier in Golani. I want to be in Golani. That's where I'm supposed to be. The commander's course is not in Golani. That's not for us. That's not for me." And he called me up. I shattered. I don't know what to do. I don't want to stay here. What am I supposed to do? And I told him, why don't you call up the Magad, which is the colonel, the head of the
Head of something.
battalion, whatever. I can't do this in English. Magad, Mfaked Gnud. And I said to him, why don't you just call him up and talk to him? He says, nobody calls him up. I said, well, you can call him up. Sure enough, Roey went and called him up. And said to him, listen, I'm not supposed to be here. I came to Golani to be in Golani, to fight, to be a fighter soldier in Golani, and that's what I'm supposed to be, and not in these courses. And the Magad said to him, listen, there's nothing I can do. He actually was at our house after Roy was killed, and we heard both sides. We hear both sides of that story. And he says, here the soldier comes to me. I've heard of him, but I've never heard from him in my life. And then he calls me up and tells me he wants to stay in Golani. And I explained to him that it's a very difficult situation because they get to choose who to keep in the course. And he told Roy, listen, give it your best shot and call me in 4 months. So he called me back, he told me this. I said, okay, so this is the countdown. We have 120 days. We're going to get through this and we'll see what happens. And sure enough, on day 118, Roey called him up and said, I did exactly what you asked. And when he said, okay, give me a couple minutes, he checked up on him. Now, Roey had a very hard time as a Mfaked Kita in course Makim, in the course. Being a commander. He was in charge of 10 soldiers, and he hated every minute of it. He mamash did not want to be there, but his soldiers loved him. To this day, they come to the house. They loved him. He would do everything for them, and he always did it with a smile. And we actually have. It was funny because they came. But the first time it was Roey's birthday. I think the first time they were able to come, and they all sit there. 10 guys. They all came, and they're like, we knew he had a hard time, but he never showed us. He never showed it to us. He always, even when we could see he was down, they'd go over, grab his face, do like this and say, okay, tomorrow's a better day. And that was Roey throughout, I think, his whole army service. All right, tomorrow will be a better day. And he made it through those 4 months. And sure enough, he called back the Magad, said, okay, you did a good job. I'm bringing you back to Golani. And we're going to make you into a staff sergeant. We're going to turn you a staff sergeant in Pluga. It's called Plugat Pachtak. They go to Golani. They finish basic training of Golani, and then they're the fighting unit for the Shiryon, for the tank unit. So they're like the infantry of a tank unit. Roey became a staff sergeant there. He did 7 months basic training with his soldiers. His soldiers loved him. He would make sure that nobody was lacking. To this day, I haven't figured out if he slept for those 7 months. He mamash was, they'd say they find him at 2:30 in the morning, walking around the base, okay, making sure that everybody, nobody was lacking, they were missing a shirt, or missing a pair of pants, or missing shoes, or missing anything. Okay, he mamash would go around and help other soldiers, even if it wasn't from his unit. There's this kid who lived in Efrat. His mother passed away many years ago, and Roey went every night to make sure he was okay. Okay, to make sure that he's okay, that he's not missing anything. I mean, it's incredible. And mamash, he did this, and yet he still was able to pull pranks like we saw with the chair with his soldiers. He'd always be he was the guy that knew how to pick everybody up. That when he had a really hard day, he'd go and tell a really dirty joke and have everybody laugh. And he was that guy that knew how to be a serious sergeant. But when it was time, he knew how to give a good word or laugh or tell a joke. And that's what he was. He always knew how to keep that balance. This is Roey.
Just an example. And we've got like millions of these.
Yes.
Yami didn't mention something, but first of all, after he did all this, before he did all this, before he called up his Magad and told him, I don't want to be in this course. How does this course work? Basically, the people who are the top of the course, the top 5 or the top 10, those are the ones who they keep on as the training officers of the next course. And once he realized this, he says, I'm not going to be the top 5 anymore. So he worked really hard to lower himself. I'm going to, be messy. I'm going to fall asleep, right? I'm going to do my best not to be great. But his commander saw right through him and told us afterwards, like, that guy tried, but yeah, didn't work for him. Even after when he finished, when he was the sergeant, and when they finished their basic training, he got a lot of offers because he was good. He got offers to stay and train the next group of soldiers. He got offers to have positions on the base, which again, mother was thrilled. Ooh, take that. But again, he said, no, I train them. I've been with them for 8 months. I want to continue with them. And that was his thing.
He was offered to go be into the officer's course, and he turned them down. He said, I can't, how can I lead soldiers into battle when I haven't even tasted anything yet that comes near going to the Gdud and going and being with soldiers on the border or whatever it is that they do. I've done so far, he says, I've done basic training and I've done courses. I need to have, I need to feel that, and in order to be a better officer, I need to be more of an example to my soldiers.
So this is how he found himself on Simchat Torah, his
well, first of all, yeah, in June 2023, July 2023, they finished basic training, and they were given an outpost in the Erez Crossing. I mean, if you know a little bit about where the Erez Crossing is, it was the main entry and exit into Gaza for pedestrian cars and walk-ins. I mean, all the workers that worked, most of the workers that came in from Gaza to work in Israel, in the Moshavim and the Kibbutzim, came through Erez. There's a huge terminal there. There's a huge terminal. This is the terminal. Okay, they had about 7,000 people coming in each day from Gaza.
This is the terminal where they walked through.
This is Gaza right here, and this is the terminal. They come into the terminal, and Roey's base was right behind it.
Next slide, yeah.
Yes, and most of their work was doing patrols along the border, doing shmirot. I mean, Roey loved it there. It's great being in the summer in the Negev. I mean, they went to the kibbutzim. They got to go in the pool. They loved it. It was like a vacation for them. I mean, they do their work seriously, but in downtime, they went to Sderot. It was pretty quiet back then. We all know now why, but it was pretty much quiet back then.
He kept telling us how great the South is, and
wants
that
to move
one
there.
day when I get married, I'm moving down here. He would send us beautiful pictures of, this is the view, this is the sunset, look how great and quiet this nice place is.
Beaches, and it was It was difficult because they didn't have a lot of soldiers with them. They were always missing. There was always a manpower problem. They always were down and didn't have enough soldiers, but they made it work. I mean, at least till October. Roey was home for Rosh Hashanah that year. He went and Yom Kippur. He was in the army. I actually went down to visit him at the base. It was the only time. It was the first time. That's when I was down at the Erez Crossing, which is it was quiet. You know, we could hear the flies. Okay, that's how quiet it was down there on Erev Yom Kippur that year. He was home the first days of Sukkot. He actually surprised us and stayed. He stayed the first day of Chol Hamoed, which was so we decided we're going out to eat. That's the last time we sat together as a family to eat. And then he went back to the army the next day. And Shabbos, Simchat Torah, he was supposed to be in. We had a very long talk on Friday afternoon. I actually spoke about the future because he was pretty much getting close to ending his army service. He had all these ideas about what he wanted to do, where he wanted to travel. I hurt my back that day, and I told him, and he says, "You realize in 10 years I have this. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I like to lift weights sometimes, and I keep getting injured, and I don't understand why, but maybe I'm just doing a little bit too much. But I always, and I hurt my back again. He said, do you realize if you keep this up in 10 years, you're going to be in a wheelchair? And I said, yeah, and you'll be changing my diapers. And he said
He
to
was
me,
good with that.
no, he said to me, no. First I'm going to make a lot of money, then maybe I'll take care of you. This was the last conversation we had together. It was funny. We always, what's this called? And I asked him what's going on. He says nothing's going on. We're waiting to go back to the base. And that was the last time we heard from him. I mean, we did get a picture into right into the Chag Shabbat, a beautiful sunset, Shabbat Shalom Me'aza, and that was Betzim the last time we'd heard from him. We know that night they had a ping pong tournament. It was just like, it's like a regular, what goes on the base when there's downtime. 6/29, October 7, 2023, Simchat Torah. The Hamas decided to start bombing Israel and infiltrating the border. One of the biggest hotspots that was infiltrated was the Erez crossing. That morning, we actually have footage of that they came right in to the border. There was nobody patrolling that morning. This is the terrorists in the terminal. They just walked right in. Nobody's bothering them. Okay. If you look, can we see it? Yeah, you can see. If you look on the side, you can see this is them coming in.
This is a terrorist walking in freely.
They're just walking around, and nobody's stopping them. There's nobody there to stop them, and they're blowing up the place. It's like he's one. Yeah, okay, that's okay. It's actually it's crazy, and they had ambulances come in. They were ready. Roey and there were 21 Golani soldiers that morning, 10 non-combatant soldiers, and another 10 that belonged to another unit. So we're talking about Sachako, about 41 soldiers in the base that morning. Right away, they realized that something was going on. Everybody went and got on full gear, vests, helmets, guns. They were all ready. All right. The combatant soldiers were the Golani soldiers, 21 soldiers in total. There was the only two officers that morning was Roey, who was a sergeant, and another officer. The officer decided to take 3 more soldiers, run to the front of the base. He told Roey to stay in the back of the base, make sure as many people as possible to get into the safe room, and be on the lookout in the back of the base. Roey, being Roey, when he gets serious, he's as serious as he gets. Set everybody up into different positions, made sure that everybody was ready. We know that at one point they had engaged in a firefight inside the base with 2 terrorists, and they killed them. This is Roey being commanding this whole thing. And that's what was going on for the first hour, making sure people were getting into the safe room. People were safe, like I said, putting up more posts, making sure that everybody was ready. And all this time, Roey is calling his commanding officer, other officers. He's trying to get a hold of other people to understand what's going on, to figure out. He was the one running the show from the back of the base, for the whole base. We learned afterwards.
This was not his job in any way whatsoever, but nobody else was doing that
So
job.
Roey grabbed and decided he's going to take charge. And Mamash, he called everybody, tried to make. He was calling for for help, to see if anybody could come help, because nobody knew what was going on that day. Okay, they cut out all communications. So for all they knew, all these chayalim in this base, that they were alone. They were being targeted, only them. Nobody knew the magnitude of what had happened yet that day. Roey was in the back. At one point, the officer, they had busted through the main
terminal.
gate.
Yeah.
They come through the terminal and come to the main gate. This is the main gate. They had, if you could see to the right here, they just blew a big hole right and came right into the base and started shooting anybody and everybody they saw. They managed to kidnap 3 non-combatant soldiers, kill 6 more, and then the officer who made it to almost to the front of the base, started a firefight with them, him and 3 other soldiers. He managed to hold them off, I would say 10 to 15 minutes. When they reinforced themselves, the terrorists, and they started throwing hand grenades and shooting RPGs at them while shooting at them. And after one of these things, they managed to kill one of the soldiers, one of the Golani soldiers. Okay, and they're heavily injuring another one. And the officer got shot in the arm, and one of the soldiers who thought everybody was dead actually ran away and jumped over the fence. So the officer is there all alone with one critically injured soldier. So he calls up Roey and says, "I need you to send me 4 more soldiers. Send 4 more soldiers urgently. We got to hold these guys. We got to hold these terrorists off." Roey is not the person to send people off and not know what's going on, or not take responsibility. So Roey grabbed 3 other soldiers with him and led them to where the officer was stationed in the front of the base. It was under fire. They had to run through this flank. Roey actually had this wonderful idea to flank the place where they were in order to get to where they were. He made it safely, and he met up with the officer. Roey right away took control. He had 3 other soldiers. Showed everybody where to stand, where to guard, and then there was another wave from the terrorists trying to come in, and there was a fierce firefight, where they were shooting and killing terrorists. You can see
This is them on the roof.
This
the
is them on the
terrorists
roof
are on the
shooting
roof.
into the base, and mamash, they were all over the place, but these guys, with no fear whatsoever. Just to explain, if you look all the way to the left, this is where Roey was most of the time, behind these buildings, shooting towards the front of the base, which is on the other side. They realized that they were outgunned, and terrorists had bombs and hand grenades and whatever, and they were close to running out of ammunition, and they decided they were going to retreat themselves to the safe room. So who but Roey to lead the charge to the safe room, and you can see here Roey was, I guess.
This video is hard to see.
Really, but there's
you see them running in between the buildings.
Between the buildings.
And then you're going to see them over here in a minute again, running between the buildings on the other side.
So
It's hard to see.
Roey led the charge back, and when he put his head around one corner, he was ultimately shot and killed right then. It was around 8 o'clock in the morning on October 7th. Regretfully, also, the terrorists that killed him were wearing GoPros that morning, so there is footage of him being shot and killed, which we're not going to show here, obviously, but it's a very sad thing. There's another one of the soldiers also was killed at that point. The body was mutilated, whereas Roey, you have to be thankful for even the smallest things, and nobody touched his body. I mean, they were liberated. We called at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So you have to understand that his body was laying there for 9 hours, but nobody touched him. Nobody, and there were terrorists in and out of the base all day that day. And they didn't touch him, and we got him back whole, which was, I guess we have to be thankful for that.
This is what the base looked like after. You can see, because they couldn't get what they wanted to, they came to kill and kidnap soldiers, but once they retreated, all the soldiers went into the safe room, so instead they went and did damage. They took matches and they just started burning things.
They burned the rooms.
They took all their stuff. They took anything they could find, looting.
They went on a looting spree, and they had 9 hours where people were locked in
bullet
safe
holes
rooms.
from the fights. You can also see.
And they looted everything. So I mean, we have basically nothing of his left. Like they took his tefillin, they took his army clothing, they took his shoes, they took everything of his. I mean, you name it, they took his underwear, everything he had. Okay, his AirPods, everything he had. All right, the only thing we have left of him is we have a pair of shorts, his Crocs that he really loved, but
Winnie the Pooh sheets.
Winnie
That
the,
they
yes,
didn't
right.
want.
Nobody wanted that. That's why he went to the army with them. Yes.
His idea, not mine.
Yes. And I have his watch, which I wear now, because it was on him. Mamash, nothing. We have nothing of his from that day left except for this, which it's really sad because I went down there. Must have been a month into the war. There's got to be something. I went down to the base. It was quite a ride down there because mamash, it was just like they just got into Gaza. The army just mamash got into Gaza, and I went there with my brother, and we mamash went through the whole base, and there was nothing. They mamash either they burned or looted everything.
And besides, the commanders afterwards that came to our house told us that besides all the soldiers that they saved in that fight, all the soldiers on the base, there was soldiers from other units on that base. There were non-combat soldiers, the guards at the terminal who are armed, but they're not soldiers. They're more terminal police. They're like border patrol. So besides that, their act basically saved them. He also explained to us that because their base was right on the road towards Route 4, basically them giving advance warning, them doing what they did, even just holding fire, basically saved hundreds of terrorists from going down Route 4 towards Ashkelon and towards all the other yeshuvim in that area, and saved dozens, if not hundreds of lives from what all those soldiers did.
It gave the police time to put up blockades and barricades on the way Route 4. Again, like I said, Erez crossing is straight up. You go straight within 7 minutes. You're in Ashkelon. 10 minutes later, you're in Ashdod. That was their idea. They thought they'd just get on the highway and start driving. And because of the fierce battle, these guys managed for almost an hour and a half to hold off these terrorists. Okay, they held them off. The army and the police were able to put up these blockades and be able to stop them from moving north. And who knows where they would have been if not for the heroism of all these soldiers that morning.
So that's where Roey's story ends. But we, of course, keep going. And one of the most common questions that we got asked at the beginning was, how do we keep going? What do we do? How do we do this? Well, first of all, we're extremely lucky that we have a lot of family here and a lot of friends that support us. And we're also lucky in a way, and it's weird to say, but as he said, like we got our son back. We know exactly how he died. He died peacefully. He died doing what he believed in. He died doing it good. He is on the list of soldiers to get an accommodation. So he did everything right that day. We have the full report of what happened that day. Took a lot to get it. But one of the things the report clearly says, that the Weiser force did everything right. So there were other soldiers that day that were kidnapped. There were parents that spent months not knowing where their child was. So my small prayer was, at least we have that. So we are very thankful, as absurd as it sounds, for those little things that we have. So we chose to focus on commemorating him in any way that we can to make his life, I don't know, worth it is not the right word, but to give meaning to the way he died. It's one of the reasons why we come. It's why we tell our story, his story actually, because we want people to learn, to know what happened that day in our country, to know how our soldiers fought, 21-year-olds fought like lions that day. And I mean, the world needs to know that. So the more people we tell, the more people can spread this story.
In Hebrew, it's called Hansacha. In English, if you translate it, it's eternalization. And that's what we do. That's what we've been doing for the last 2.5 years, is eternalizing Roey and who he was and what he did and all the good things that he brought into the world, okay, to spread what he did and to tell his story. And he always had a dream of seeing the world, being important. And there's a story that we were told at the funeral.
His teacher, when he was in end of high school, asked them all to pick what song is their favorite. And Roey, being Roey, never did anything on time. So the teacher said when he came to talk at the funeral, he went through his old WhatsApps to scroll, and he says, Roey finally sent me the song that he liked. And the song that his favorite song was the Hall of Fame. It was also the song that was in his, we played at his bar mitzvah show. And basically the song talks about being great and seeing the world and being famous. And you know what? Every time we take these stickers and people put them all around the world, and people do put them all around the world, we feel like Roey is all around the world. And basically, Hansacha, as we said, one of the things we're doing is making sure the world knows who he is.
We have stickers, mamash, in obviously North America, South America, all over Asia, all over Eastern Europe, Western Europe. I mean, people go, they send us from in Kilimanjaro, they have stickers of him. They mamash, people are going with the stickers and sticking them all over the world. We have stickers, stickers in Egypt, in Dubai. I did that one.
So
mamash all over the place.
So besides the stickers, which is like the new Israeli trend that we had, of course, never heard of, we focus on things that we do that we think that would follow his spirit, his personality, his smile, his leadership. Those are the things that we're trying to do. So, for example, he loved donuts. Okay, Krispy Kreme, like Dunkin' Donuts, he lived for that. Not just him, all of them, but he lived for that. So
all of us.
My nieces and nephews on the first Hanukkah thought, okay, what's the best way to commemorate him? So they started this project where everybody should take a picture of a donut or a sufganiyah and post it online. And the campaign was for a few purposes. One of them is, as we said, getting people to hear his story, spreading the word. The other one was about smiling. And the power of a smile is very strong. And he certainly, I could show you pictures of him in a second, of all of his pictures are him, thumbs up, all good, smiling in some weird way. And we've been doing this campaign already, our 2 years already, and we've getting pictures from all around the world of people taking a smile, eating a donut, and not only that, but it's also saying in essence that these are the moments that matter. The little smiles of eating a donut in his honor. You can see I've got about 1,000 pictures of him. Not one of them is just a full picture of him. They're all half-cut pictures of selfies of him with his fingers in his face, going thumbs up, smiling, always looking happy. And these are the picture of the stickers that we made in Hebrew and in English, which is basically his motto, smile. Life is easier if you smile. And that's how we've been trying to honor him. We also talked about the marathon that he did when he was younger. So we decided to start, my mother had this great idea, why don't we start a marathon team in his name? And we said, okay, a few family and friends. We ended up with way more than we expected, and this was our 3rd year this year, and it just keeps growing, and people running in his memory, doing something he loved to do. His brother ran the half marathon this year in his honor, along with all of his friends, and we feel that every single person that sees Roey's shirt running is another way of spreading his legacy by doing things that he loved. We also try and combine it with the holidays. So we go through this wine manufacturer and we made wine with Roey's picture on it. This way we can have him at every single Chag at our table and sell it in the store and people buy it, and then people send me pictures of here's Roey's wine on our table, and this way we know every house has his wine and they're talking about him. We made sukkah posters, same purpose, again, sukkah's in there, keep the poster, in 5-10 years people are going to look at that and say who's that and tell his story.
We have also started last year a soccer tournament in his name. We have all the youth groups. It's the one time in Efrat that all the youth groups get together in one place and they have a soccer tournament. This year it's going to be on May 18th. We were supposed to have it before Pesach, but because of the war, we couldn't do it, so it's going to be on May 18th this year. Mamash, all the youth groups, B'nai Kiva, in the Geffen, in the Zayit, the Scouts, they all get together, they all bring a team, they have a tournament. It's crazy, okay? They all see all these kids, and it's a beautiful thing. Mamash, seeing a thousand teenagers and kids just sitting there and cheering on and remembering Roey. We have in Efrat we have 2 lookouts, one in the Tamar and one here that we're right now we're building in the Zayit next to the Gan on. Up the street near the Gan, all the way up on top. There's a lookout. We're in the middle of building it now. We should be finished by the end of the summer. We made pergolas. We planted trees on Tu B'Shvat last year. And I think our biggest project is yet to come. We also have a fund in Roey's name for. Less fortunate soldiers, lone soldiers.
For what Roey believed in, for helping others, for...
We want to help him, we want to help other soldiers with what he thought was correct. We like if a soldier's missing a watch, to be able to buy him a watch. If they're missing sneakers, and there are soldiers that get to the army and they're missing basic things like long undershirts and stuff like that. We want to be the ones that help them in Roey's name. And make sure that they're not lacking. That Roey was very very important to him. That everybody should be equal, and we want to make that happen. We want to help that. We want to help that come to life.
So one of the main projects that we're trying to kickstart is we're working with Karen Efrat, and we want to start a lone soldier center here in the Zayit. We're in the planning stages. We're hoping to kick it off this year. We have a location. And we want it to be a project that involves the community, because Efrat is an English-speaking community, and it won't only be English-speaking lone soldiers, but there's quite a lot of them. And give them a housing, a place to stay, people to cook the meals, to invite them for Shabbatot, because the biggest problem with these lone soldiers is they leave the base on the weekends and they have nowhere to go, they don't have a family, and this is something that Roey always felt was very important, taking care of the soldiers. In fact, after one of the mothers of one of his lone soldiers from his called me up, and she told me that her son was supposed to be on the base that day, and the soldier had mentioned that he had a relative that happened to be in Israel, and he really wanted to see him, even though it's his turn. Could he please be excused? And like a regular soldier would have asked that, you wouldn't get off so easy. But he said, this is a special situation. He doesn't have a lot of relatives that come visit Israel. Of course I'm letting him out. And the mother said, this is the biggest kindness that he did. First of all, probably saved his life that day. And second of all, just recognizing the need is already something huge for a lone soldier. So that is our plan. Once we start it, we'll involve the whole community. Meantime, we're just doing the planning and eventually the fundraising. Yeah. We have a website. You're welcome to log on to the website and read more about Roey, and all the donations go through the website. And I would like to open the stage for any questions that you have. See, that was fast.
I just want to say you also have an initiative of learning a halacha a day.
That's right.
Yes, true. We have a lot of initiatives. We cannot even.
If we went through the list, it would be
Yeah.
Like I said, it's an eternalization thing. As much as we can do in Roey's name, that's what we're doing. If somebody offers it to us, if we can do it, we're there. Okay, they want us to talk, we're there. Again, I want. He always wanted to be known, and the world's going to know your name. It's part of that song, and that's what we're doing. Okay, we want people to know who he is, and the bravery of what he did that day, and just what an amazing. He was a mensch, and he did everything correctly all the way to the end, to the last second. That's important for us. The people should know that.
But yeah, we try and on the website list all the initiatives on Facebook, on Instagram. I can't keep up, I'll be honest, so it's probably not everything is there, but if anybody wants to inquire about anything specific, feel free to contact us through, I'm sure you guys can get my contact information, or directly through the website, including the Halacha a Day, which goes out to, I think, a couple of hundred people. And it's written very simply, in easy to understand language that even I get. More questions? Yeah.
I was just curious, during battle, there were 4 guys, Roey and 3 others. You said one other was killed.
Yeah. So that morning they were in the base itself. 4 Roey and 3 other Golani soldiers were killed that morning. 3 non-combatants were kidnapped out of the base. They were on a different side of the base, so Golani soldiers were not even close. 3 other non-combatants were killed. There was 2 others that were also killed. Mamash, the entrance to the base. Again, not from their unit. I think Sachako, we're talking about 8 or 9 soldiers that were killed that morning on that base. 3, like I said, 3 other were kidnapped. The rest managed to get to the safe rooms or hide till they were liberated at 5 o'clock at night.
So in the safe room, they survived in the safe room?
Yeah, they survived in the safe room for all those hours, yes. It is, it's one of these rooms that have reinforced concrete walls and thick doors, and they actually, what we heard from some of the kids that were in the safe room, that they were shooting at the wall, shooting at the doors, but they couldn't get in. Thankfully, obviously, because there were 20-some soldiers in there, and
Right.
they all survived.
There's a few safe rooms in the base, and Roey soldiers were hiding in that safe room, but there were other soldiers hiding in other parts of the base also. And they did try, but as I said, because they weren't getting anywhere, they said, okay, we're going to cause chaos, and they started looting and fires instead. But yeah, no, thank God. The amount of soldiers that could have died that day would have been a lot higher if not for the 8 soldiers that actually did the fighting. Yeah.
How are your kids doing? And do you remember any of their dirty jokes that you shared with them?
You can only ask the first question, that's fine. You'll have to answer both.
I see time is short.
Well, first of all, we are the most open family, and if you were in our house, then you can get the actual dirty joke, but I'll spare some of the other people who may not appreciate our humor. Listen, our kid, I won't say that it hasn't affected them, it's affected us. You can see me smiling one day, and you can see me, not even one day, 1 hour, and then somebody will send a picture of something and we can be in tears. It's basically minute by minute, hour by hour. There's no formula also for what triggers you. And I think the kids are the same way.
I think Nadav took it to heart. Obviously, we have
and
Nadav and Shani.
right.
Yeah, Nadav was very close to Roey. They used to video call each other and whatever. In the beginning, Nadav took it really hard. Okay, Shani took it also hard, but Nadav, they slept in the same room. They were together forever. And it was very difficult for him. And right away, he told me, I'm going to Atzmona, and I'm going to Golani. I mean, yes, he's still doing that. Okay, but he's come out of that shell of, I guess, of trying to be in his brother's shadow. I mean, one of the greatest things was he ran the half marathon at the Jerusalem Marathon this week. Okay, Roey couldn't run more than 10K. Roey run 10K like nothing, but and he did crazy times. But that's it. I'm bored. After 10K, I'm bored. I'm not doing it. His brother ran the half marathon, and you can see he's coming out of that. So he went to. Somebody asked him when he went to Atzmona, when he said to everybody, "I'm going to Atzmona." He says, "Are you going for yourself, or are you going because of your brother?" And I think that made him think for the first time, and then he actually went to Atzmona for the right reasons. The same thing now with Golani. He's going to go to Golani, and I guess we can't stop him. We've talked about it enough, but he'll do something in Golani. He'll do the basic training, and then we'll make a decision. Obviously, it's up to us. We can veto his being a combat soldier, but he's right now. He's come to a point. I know he still said that his brother was killed. On the other hand, he's doing much better now because he's finally coming out from that shadow.
We'll have to see how he does in the Army.
Yeah, I'm taking bets he doesn't finish basic training.
I'm hoping also. I trained my kids to run away, not to go fight. Didn't work, but I tried. I told Nadav already, I'm good. You can run away. But yeah, no, he's quite insistent. And people keep asking us, are we going to let him? Are we going to not let him? I mean, I'm not your most spiritual person here, but it's very basic. You don't let your kid go to the Army and then he dies in a car crash. What did you do? So, and he'll hate me for the rest of his life thinking of all the things he could have done. So we have to have some faith in somebody up there that this is the right thing for him and let him do it. And hopefully we sleep at night.
Thank you.